have the great pleasure to introduce George Alley. Most of us know him here. He's a great asset to our community, and what he and Aaron and his children have brought to the community you all know about. But when I started with Thermal Belt 6 years ago was when Carol Newton was finishing her term with us. And one of our first jobs we had to do was to find a new president to take over for the organization. And we did our search, we narrowed it to a few people, and then when it came time to actually vote on who it was going to be, George was the overwhelming choice for us. We knew him from the community here, we knew what things he'd done. We expected him to do great things for Thermal Belt, but we didn't expect anywhere near what we got from him. So if you look what's happened to this organization, we've become a real powerful voice for the people that need help in our community right here. We were doing some of that before him, but he really led us on to that. You've seen an unbelievable amount of growth in the volunteers that have come to us, the donations that have come into us, the money that's come to us, the ability of things that we can do to serve this community is all because of what George has brought to us. So hopefully he'll tell you about what he's been doing for the last few years and some big things that we have coming up for us right there. So George Alley, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dave. I appreciate that. And what he failed to disclose, too, is the value of the board members and all the volunteers that have really made all that happen. Because they do all the things that they do, it gives me time to do some other things on the strategic side. So, before we get into the outreach stuff, let's talk a little bit about the Kiwanis Rotary Party. So, Bill Jones, as you know, he left us $1,000, $1,000 for each year to host this party. And his goal for it was to find ways that Kiwanis and Rotary could work together. So last year, it was a Valentine's Day event, and I'm sure my mother forced many of you onto the dance floor. So this year we're going to shift gears just a little bit because it also happens to be President's Day weekend. So we'd like it to be a President's Day event. So I'm talking with Aaron Green and Kiwanis to see about doing some presidential and historical trivia. So that'll be a way for us to kind of partner up with Kiwanians at a table and kind of get the discourse going so we can start conversations. So you won't have to dance if you don't want to. Okay? But Sunday, February 16th, Carl, I need to verify that with Carl. But that's the goal, Sunday, February 16th, and so I'm going to work on the trivia, and we might even get a few people to dress up historically, if we can. So if anybody happens to have any presidential costumes, please feel free to break out your powdered wig and your bow tie and come as your favorite president. But we figured that would be a good way to have a social time, but also as part of that event, I do think we really do need to discuss whether or not joint event with Kiwanis can happen and should happen. To me, it would seem something along the lines of raising money for scholarships, since that's the one thing we both have in common. So if you would give that a little bit of thought and get back to me if you do have some ideas, but I think it would be a neat thing to do with the Kiwanians. So any questions on that right now? Does anybody have an issue with it?
Are you going to clear it with your mom that we don't have to dance?
I will, but she'll be going around and making sure you're engaged.
Thank you, George. Bill Jones was a wonderful friend of mine, and having this party is a great tribute to that wonderful guy. He's not a lot to do, he's a lot to do.
Agreed. Yes, thank you for pointing that out.
Just to let you know, people like Kiwanis, I'm a both sides. We have been talking about, and it's probably going to happen, working together with you guys with a few other things besides salt for the community. And the next thing we're going to think about is a shrimp dinner. After you guys get more help and start to get that going.
Really?
So we are working on it yet.
Okay. Good. Just don't do it in the fall. Stacy, did you know that? Scrape was coming back? Okay, so a little about Thermal Belt Outreach. I've been the executive director for about 5 years now, and as you know, we help provide crisis aid to members of our community that can't meet their basic needs. And the backbone of that is our food pantry. Okay, we distribute some $650,000 worth of goods and services out the back door, if you will, at the pantry. It's a real kind of community hub for food. And then the other part is we provide financial assistance to folks, help them out with housing, some rent, electricity, propane, things of that nature. Something interesting in the last 2 weeks, Department of Social Services also has money for heating bills, and at the end of the year sometimes they run out, and it's incredible to see the spike in the numbers that come visit us when they run out. So we've been really busy for this last few weeks. As Dave said, the donations have been good, so we've really been able to help people out and make sure they have heat. So I'm going to share a little bit with you about some of the numbers of where people are living, and then I'll go in a little bit. I'm going to share a little bit with you about our recent strategic plan and what we have planned for the next 5 years. So our clients don't have a lot of money to live on, okay, a lot of these households. 16%, and this is all self-reported, okay, we don't dig into people's business too far. They come in, they self-report this stuff to us. Unless they're getting financial assistance, but for food, it's just self-reported. 16% live below $500 a month, and this is per family, per household. 27% 500 to 1,000. 26% 1,000 to 1,500, and 17% 1,500 to 2,000. So 40, 50, 60. So about 75% of our clients are living below $2,000 a month in household income. Now, a lot of times that's not one person; it's 3, 4, and 5 people, and multiple generations. So there's not a lot to go around. And what you've seen is people can make it through about 2 or 3 weeks of the month, and it's really that last week of the month that people really struggle, and they're able to rely on us. And something that we find pretty neat is that if people don't need to rely on us, they actually don't come back. If we see someone that used to come a whole bunch and we haven't seen them in a year, we say, well, how come you haven't used our services? And they say, we've been doing okay, and we wanted to leave what's needed for those that need it more. And I think there's a perception that many people that are getting assistance do so kind of relentlessly, and that's just not the case. People are really pretty considerate up and down the economic spectrum. And that kind of gives us the warm fuzzies at Outreach when you see that people that need help are also willing to provide help. A little more of a look inside the numbers. So through October, we had 3,000 family visits, right? That's not unique families, that's just basically the number of requests that come through the door. And so you could probably add it, it's about 300 a month, so we'll probably finish up somewhere around 3,800 for the year. 114 people helped with electricity, 63 with fuel, kerosene, and propane. And so that little category there is where we see the neediest of the needy. People that are coming in that are heating with kerosene. We really don't like to give it out because it's a volatile fuel, but it truly is the only way some people are heating their home or their mobile home, most likely. And some folks are doing it on 2 tanks of propane a month. And so, of course, those things spike when it gets really cold. And another statistic, we helped a lot more people with rent this year. 39 people were helped with rent, and then 70 people were helped with transportation. So we've really improved our relationship with the county transportation system. So particularly if people have specific requests, obviously if you need help get a ride to work, we're going to provide transportation so you can get to work. Doctor and food, those are the things that we help people out. We've got a real good system with the transportation system, and we anticipate those requests are going to go up because we feel that particularly people are trying to get to work and to the doctor. We helped about 65 people with firewood. And so if any of you have split any firewood with us, you know that that is a labor of love. It's not easy, but still people are using firewood to heat their homes.
Tell us about the fire ants, George.
What about the fire ants?
The last time they cut wood, 2 men, I think Jeff Harris and Dave Graham.
Dave Graham.
Got in touch with some fire ants that were in the wood.
So yes, there is ants in wood sometimes. So the 2 things that happen, either we throw the piece of wood off to the side or we knock all the ants off it and put the wood on the bottom. So what that happens is if we get donations that have, people that have had the wood sitting out in their yard for a long time, that can happen sometimes. It comes with ants. We try not to pass those along to the clients. And I don't know if you knew how much, yes?
Do you have any shortage of actually wood that you need
That is an excellent question. So we have a shortage of wood that's cut into 18-inch lengths. We get people that call us and say, we had a tree go down in the backyard, we'd love for you to have it. Just come out and cut it up and take it away and go with you. So that is difficult for us because that's me and my truck. I think the worst thing I ever did was bought a truck. It does. So yes, so what we do have is people call up and say, can you bring us wood that you can get your arms around in 18-inch lengths? We can take all that we can get. So keep that in mind if you know any of that. Occasionally I do go out and get it if it's already split and stacked. Then I'm willing to go get it. It's not as hard on the back. Because I went out a few weeks ago and a fella had wood that was huge and we had to actually split it before putting it on my truck. Food Line. Food Line donates almost $100,000 per year of food to us.
I have a question. Food Line, I shop there for sometimes, and they have these little packages. And they sell them to you so they can donate them to. Are they worth it as monetarily wise? Do you think? I mean, do you enjoy getting those or what? You know, because I see what the product is in there, and I think, gosh, that's an awful lot for $5. I mean, that's not a lot for $5.
Yeah, so it's like a jar of peanut butter and some spaghetti and some green beans and things. It's probably about $5 worth of stuff.
But not even wholesale.
Right. So it helps us at our holiday distribution. We gave out those food boxes when we gave out the Christmas gifts.
So there is a need for them.
That was very helpful, and we also distribute them to the police force so that they can put 3 in their cruisers, and so if they run into anything out on the street, they can get them distributed. So they're a little difficult to get from Food Line, and it can be a little difficult, but it does work out, and it really helps us in distribution.
Thank you. That's
Yes.
all I wanted.
Good question. So then we get a lot of their meat that we can freeze, you know, that's almost out of date, and then we freeze it and redistribute it, vegetables, and a lot of the day-old breads and things like that. And they're also really good partners for that. They do that for us. We also get a grant for them. Just a really good partner. And we also do the Walmart Gift in Kind program. All the Walmart returns come back to our distribution center. We speed shop once a week. The Good Shepherd Episcopal Church does that for us. It's their ministry. And we were up to $143,000 as of the end of October in donated goods. A lot of that are things you can't get with your food stamps. So things like vitamins and toilet paper and paper towels, windshield wiper blades. I mean, there's a real variety of stuff.
Diapers. Can you get diapers?
Diapers, yes. I think I'm not sure. That's a good
But new
question.
mothers can.
New mothers.
You got the.
And there's the WIC program that
Get
you
the
can
meal,
use.
yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's
New
through the
mothers.
WIC program.
George, isn't that the one where we've gotten $1 million?
Yeah, so over 8 years, they've collected $1 million worth of goods through the Walmart program. It's a really neat thing. They go every week. Okay, so there's a bit on the statistics. Okay, so the past, well, I would like to say it's been the past year. How long have we been working on this strategic plan?
It's ongoing.
So we've been nibbling away at the strategic plan for 3 years or so now. And we're able to kind of knock it out this year and set 5 or 6 goals for the next 5 years. In no particular order. One is to strengthen strategic collaborations, which is something I feel like we already do pretty well in our organization. I feel like we're pretty well connected, but we don't want to take our eye off the ball. So we're trying to work with, local organizations, the government, the schools, and even organizations outside the area. I don't know if you know about the Dogwood Trust. Okay, Mission Hospital sold to a for-profit organization. All the proceeds from the sale went into a trust, and they have to distribute that to the 18-county region of Western North Carolina. And there's some $5 billion to distribute. And they're really falling all over themselves to get the money out the door. But they're not going directly for health care. They're addressing the social determinants of health things like transportation, childcare, housing, and things of that nature. So that's the type of, obviously, the type of strategic collaboration we would like to have. So we're working with groups not only within our county, but in the region as well. And the county government is being more and more of a solid partner now that they have the Consolidated Services Agency. Organizational sustainability, obviously, my job, I see it as to keep the organization going. I do have a heart for our mission, but I even have a, frankly, bigger heart for the organization and making sure that it stays healthy and happy and able to fulfill our mission over the period, longer period. And so that's what kind of drives me. I ride my bike every day, and that's all I think about. What can we do better? How can we be more efficient? Is everybody happy? How's the culture? All that stuff. So in that light, one of the things we're doing is we're going to evaluate our programs this year to make sure they're running as efficiently as possible. We're going to do a rebrand. It's been about 25 years with the same colors and logo. And the logo used to be a mountain with the cross on it. Those of you remember the Lions Club cross on top of the mountain. And there was a set of hands. There was a period of time where people were concerned about the cross. So the cross was taken out, and now it's just hands on a mountain. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So Margot's working on rebranding, so we're looking forward to seeing what what is unveiled there. Again, obviously we're always working on fundraising plans and working on volunteer management. And then the last thing is we have an electronic database, an e-database if you will, but we still do all the work on paper. And so there is discussions of whether or not we get rid of the paper and go directly to the database. But having been there when we brought the database in, it was quite difficult in terms of getting everybody trained and all that. So it's really I recognize a big job for us, so that's on the latter end of the 5-year plan, the transition to just computers. And many of our volunteers are, can I use the word older? And aren't crazy about the transition to computers. We also are looking to expand the offerings in the food pantry. If you haven't been by Outreach lately, please come by. We did some renovations. We got a grant from the Cannon Foundation to renovate the kitchen, and we got some new carpeting and flooring. And so our kitchen is about a third bigger. We have a stove. So we want to do more cooking and create kind of a culture of cooking at Outreach, and also distribute some prepared foods. I'd love to do kind of a chef challenge in there and just create more of an environment to be around the table, which we've already started with volunteers, but we really want to get the clients involved. And we want to improve our networking with local farmers during the summer, find a way to get the produce they don't sell at the end of the farmer market week. How can we get that in the doors to us? And then one thing I've been on for a number of years is trying to secure a backup generator so we can be available in times of emergency. And one thing I wanted to share with you about donations too is that the Chinkapin Farms, which is the Mahlers, they give us a cow every year. I don't know if you knew that. So they slaughter a cow every January and bring us pound packets of ground beef, and that's just a huge donation. We love the Mahlers. So these last two are the two big ones, okay? They are creating some affordable housing and home repair on the property, and also researching and developing a case management system. So for years we've been talking about doing just a little bit more than crisis aid, and we've been very cautious about moving in that direction, because a lot of times if you do a case management system, you're really helping 12, 15, 18 people a year. So how many of your organizational resources can you put towards helping such a small group of people, when our resources right now help 800 families a year. So we're finally in a position where we actually do have some reserves, and we do have some money to apply to a program like this. So we're researching what model is the best, because other organizations around here do it, and trying to help people move out of poverty into getting a job and being able to stand on your feet. And for the most part, it's probably going to be single parent families that are the people going to fall into that category. So the good news is, the organization in Asheville called Community Action Opportunities has a grant to do it in this county, but it's not a very big grant, and they don't really want to do it here. So we have a potential partner that's experienced in this that we might be able to partner with, get some money in the door, and train our client services management to do this. So things like making sure people have child care, they know how to budget, they have stable housing, can you get them job skills, provide transportation, and then obviously if there's any issues with substance abuse, can you help them there? Programs used in other counties have a pretty good success rate. If they get 12 or 15 people in, they find they're 75% of the people at the end of the 2 or 3 years are off and away and on their feet. So we're really looking forward to that. And another reason that this was a good time for this is because on the property, we've got about 11 acres and we're building some single-family homes to be used for supportive housing. So I'm just going to touch on this briefly because you're going to see me again in April or so when I'll have more of a presentation for you about exactly what that looks like. Because we're still in the stage of getting all the permits and approval. But the plan is on the back 40 of the property, if you will, we've got scheduled to build 9 houses, and the houses are being built by the high school construction program. So they build the shell, if you will. It's 24 by 40, and then they put it on this huge trailer and they take it wherever you want it. So they're going to take it back there and plop it down, and we're trying to work with the schools to get where the kids could also finish it on the inside. So the reason this was appealing to us, we started out with a big development, 48 units of multifamily housing like Ashley Meadows. Got turned down for several grants. This was really appealing because we felt like we also recognized there's a shortage of tradespeople in the community. Those of you that have homes, which you all do, you know, part of it is to get somebody to work on your house. And if you talk to a lot of the tradesmen, electricians, plumbers, carpenters, they have trouble finding kids with the proper work ethic, the proper tools to do this. The program at the high school is really facing that challenge head on. The program has grown, it's doubled. It's at least grown by a third or almost doubled in the last 3 years. And what Keith has also seen is that the number of kids that are engaging in classes has changed. If he had a class with 25 kids in the class, 5 kids would be doing the work, 20 kids would be screwing around. And he said now 20 kids are engaged and swinging a hammer, and only 5 kids are messing around. So, and we know that there's still more, right? This takes a little bit of time to get kids to then come out and will go into the trades. The reason I'm saying this is because what we recognize, by building supportive housing, we're helping clients transition from poverty out of poverty, but we're also helping the next generation with job skills, and then we're also creating revenue for the organization to help. So we see it as a win-win-win. I can tell you that the town of Columbus has really come to the table. They've really helped with permitting. They're helping us run a water line and a new road, and sewer and gutter, and they've really come to the table. So if you know anybody, if you live in Columbus, and you know anybody on the council, please do pass that along that you really appreciate that, because it's not like they've written us a check yet. They've said they're going to do these things, but one never knows. There's also a change of power. We've got a new mayor and a new council member. So if anybody knows McCool, please tell them that you support this organization, this project. So we'll hopefully get these 2 houses placed by April. And for me, that's the big hurdle, right? It was just really getting these first 2 houses in the ground to show that this is what we're doing and we mean business. So once those are in the ground, we've got another 4 months before they're finished inside, and that'll give us the time to develop all the policies and procedures and set up the legal framework to make sure we're covered from a liability perspective and things of that nature, so that then we can really build out the rest of the community. Okay? The Polk County Community Foundation came to the table. They gave us a Bradley grant. We had $150,000 in a CD, and they matched it, excuse me, with a $150,000 Bradley Fund grant. So that's huge. So that $300,000 is really what is able this to take off. For me personally, it's also very satisfying because I've always wanted to have a project that would qualify for a Bradley Fund grant. And I always used to joke with the staff over there when they'd say, "We've got a grant for you," and I would say, "Does it begin with a B?" And they would say, "No, not this one." So finally we got the one that begins with a B. And I think it's going to make a change in the community. Something that's very important to me personally is that there's a lot of talk about helping the next generation and helping kids. And I think here we are as a community stepping up and saying, well, now we're doing it. And so the other thing I'm hoping is that these kids that come out of the program, that there'll be some kids that we can use on the handyman side as well. How many people need a handyman around the house? Okay, and me included. So that comes next. So the last thing I want to touch on is the home repair part. Foothills Housing Partnership, you mentioned Dave Graham. He's been doing, through the First Baptist Church, home repair for years. And he finally incorporated and formed a nonprofit and then said, I'm going to retire. But in this year of time, he literally single-handedly has helped us finish about 20 home repair projects. And I mean, he's tried to get volunteers and some have helped, but I mean, he's done it on his back. It's been incredible, the work that he's done. But we're left with this shell of a home repair program with no one to really take it on. So one of the things we're talking about is, can we keep it going? Trying to bring Habitat to the table, because they have a home repair program. We want to do it, to see how we can work together to keep this organization going, to continue to do home repair folks. And again, there's another opportunity to train the next generation. And there's in particular a recent graduate from Polk County High School. And she's a fantastic kid. She's 19 to 20 years old. Her name's Megan Bradley. She went on to get her associates in carpentry, and she's to me, would be the perfect fit to lead this organization. Because again, where you can talk about doing it for kids, or you can actually put a kid in a position of authority and teach him how to lead. A little harder if she's leading kids, but it's really a goal of mine. This is still a little bit of a stretch, I think. But again, this is a bit of a passion project for me to keep this going, because there's a huge need for home repair in the county. Yeah.
George, what about the homes? Are they buying? Who owns them? How much do they pay, or do they pay?
Yeah, good question. So we are going to own the homes, so they're going to be rentals, because we see that that's where the real shortage is. So, so if somebody qualifies, they go over to isothermal planning development, and they get a Section 8 housing voucher, and they determine you can afford $200. We say our rent's $800, they pay $600, the client pays $200. So we get market return, people can live there affordably. Now, this isn't designed as a long-term rental. Great, you get to do that for 8 years. So if they want to live in the house, they're going to be in the case management program, and they're going to live there while we help them get on their feet and move on. So if you're coming out of Steps to Hope, maybe your family was involved in a fire, so it's kind of the people that are the hardest hit to get them moving on. Yep. Any other questions? I'm impressed. Everybody stayed awake. I saw a few of these.
Can I say one thing? In the past couple of months, I've been introducing B.J. Bain, who is the director at Steps to Hope, our violence shelter. And this has been quite a move for B.J. to go from law enforcement to domestic violence, and she is adjusting, and I tell you, she is just a barrel of energy, and she's so excited, but she says, I'm on new ground, you know, every day I'm on new ground. And I said, well, I've always been under the belief that God puts people where He knows they do most good. You are where our county needs to go. And thank you. That truly touched my heart. Thank you.
Thank you. When I first moved here, I worked at the classical school, and Lee Lomax was the principal there, and whenever I was frustrated, he always tells, he'd say, bloom where you're planted, George.
Exactly.
And he'd say, you're building up your treasures in heaven. And I would say, Lee, I could use a few. But thank you all for your support, and for all we, as Rotarians, do for this community. I think it's pretty amazing. And my kids also are recipients of that generosity and kindness, so thank you all.